Vem är du?
Jag är döden.
Kommer du för att hämta mig?
Jag har redan länge gått vid din sida.
Det vet jag.
Är du beredd?
Min kropp är rädd. Inte jag själv.
Up the walls!
Good evening and welcome to the Joust, a sombre Joust this week. I usually have much more gusto, Liam.
We are gustoless this week, Jousters, and we apologise to you for it, but we imagine you're all feeling the same lack of gusto as we are here in this room.
We're without gust.
Gustless.
Gustless.
Gustless wonders.
We've been called gutless before, but not gustless.
Oh, I've been described as gustless in the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just certain days, you're feeling gustless.
Gustless.
Yeah. Just stay on the lounge all day, you don't do much.
It's too high to expect someone to be gust.
Well, we were gustful for, 10 weeks in a row? That's
10 weeks in a row.
That's a lot of gust to hang on to within your soul.
You've only got so much.
It's exhausting.
Gust. I've always said you've got a limited amount of gust. And then when you're gustful, full of gusto, then you're gustless.
See, now, if this were a renewable energies podcast, we'd be in real trouble if we were gustless.
Which we are in the off season.
Because it would rule out wind power entirely.
Yeah, going full renewable.
Hydroelectric here at the Joust we're doing. We're going to dam the mighty Hunter River.
You can't see us below, but there's a river flowing under the table. Our feet get all wrinkly.
Yeah, because it all runs down the river of the legs.
The river of the leg. That's the muscle system, isn't it? I'm not a physiotherapist by any stretch.
Nor should you accuse us of being guests. We are not medical professionals.
We're not medical professionals, but there is a river of the leg, a river flowing through us.
Like that great film, River Runs Through It.
I thought you were going to say The River Wild with Kevin Bacon.
Bridge on the River Kwai with Alec Guinness.
There's lots of great river films out there.
There's so many good river films.
Yeah, and also Meryl Streep.
What did she do?
She's on the River Wild. And,
okay.
And John C. Reilly in that period where he was in every film ever that existed.
And very good in all of them. We were discussing just before the show, Joust, the film Walk Hard. Now,
Walk Hard,
if you haven't seen Walk Hard, get out and get it. It will fill you with gust. It's such a wonderful film, isn't it?
We need to watch it, Liam, because we're gustless.
But tell you where I was filled with gust, Naggy.
Where were you?
The Hamilton Station Hotel. I went there on a Saturday afternoon. It was a fine Saturday. It was a wonderful day. I walked into the pub. There was this feeling of camaraderie. Feeling of excitement. There was red and blue everywhere. Sam, our buttons man, was there with me. We joined. We met a wonderful man from New Zealand, very kind fellow.
Yes.
Lots of Warriors jerseys, but they were in good natured. They were in good spirits.
An inclusive venue.
A very inclusive venue. It welcomed all and it rejected none.
It did. It did. And it was obviously the result that we didn't want.
I was rejected immediately after full time. It said, we've had enough of you.
Dejected,
Leave.
rejected, and it was the result that we didn't want. But it was. I bet you were happy you were watching it at the Hamilton Station.
Overjoyed.
Hotel. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was kind of on an even gust.
It was an even gust. You walked out of there with just as much gust as you walked in there with.
Yeah.
Yes. There's that's the two. You walk in and then you walk out. But it was the result that we were all hoping wouldn't happen. Going over across the ditch, the Dutch, as some people may have said, to take on not only the 17 men wearing the Wanderers, the Warriors jerseys, but the 20-something thousand that was there also. Basically, you had the support of the entire country.
I was going to say 20,000 in the stadium. The other, 5,000 people in New Zealand scattered outside the stadium in various sheep stations. That's a lot of people.
That's all.
25,000 people in the whole country. That's a lot of people to have behind you.
There's been nothing to prove me that there's more than 25,000 people in New Zealand. I've seen no photographs to prove me otherwise.
Well, I can tell you there's about more than 25,000 people outside New Zealand.
Yeah.
I think they all left.
Oh, they all moved
everywhere.
They all moved to Southeast Queensland, I can tell you that.
There's not a city in the world where I've been where I haven't run into a Kiwi.
Yeah, no,
they're
everywhere.
Prolific people.
They like the Irish.
Wonderful too. Yeah. I've enjoyed they're exactly like the Irish.
Yeah.
They're wonderful people. I like them.
It's
Go to hell.
It's wonderful when you run into a New Zealand person away from Australia and then you remember it's Anzac Day and it's something that you can share.
It's a shared trauma.
Yeah. It is a shared trauma. But it's something that, it's something we can relate to. But Liam, this unfortunately was the demise of the very famous, the now historic 10 in a row.
Yeah,
Boom.
that's the way she goes, bud.
Boom.
It's the way she goes.
Thank you for that graphic, Sam. It's wonderful. That's the way she goes, boys. Unfortunately, it had to come to an end eventually. It happened in the game that we really didn't want it to happen. But again, we cannot be too upset with the team.
Well, that's it. For it to come to an end in the second week of the finals, given the trials, given the tribulations, given the pain we felt as Knights fans for so long, given everything that's been heaped upon us as Knights fans, pretty good.
Pretty good. Look,
finals weeks too, pretty good.
Pretty fantastic.
And we'll cover this more next week in our encyclopedic episode, our season wrap. But yeah, pretty good.
It was the best result that we have had season-wise in 10 years. And 10 long years. Yeah. So it was something to hang on to as far as looking at not just the game, but the season. And look, I like to say, this is the way that I view it, that at the moment we're in basically a 4-way tie. Some would say a 6-way tie with all the remaining teams.
Now, Naggy, you've done the numbers, you've done the maths on this one. Would you fill the public in about the equations and such that you've run through your noggin?
Well, you see, I hit the books and I took from the work of Alan.
You meant to read them, Naggy.
Alan Turing, mathematics, of course, using great mathematics. And I worked out that, you see, the Knights won one finals game.
One is more than zero.
And they lost one finals game. Now, the Melbourne Storm have won...
Now, how many percents is that?
50% of the games, but one win on the tally board. Now, the Melbourne Storm have won one finals game, but they've also lost one finals game.
Interesting. Now, there's another team, perhaps, who have won one finals game, but also have lost one finals game. Naggy, who's that?
The New Zealand Warriors.
Oh, the very team that got their one win. Only one win, Jousters. Yeah. Against the Knights.
And they've lost one finals game. You're seeing a pattern here? I'm suddenly, this is what I said. Hang on a second, there's a pattern emerging. And
cancel the NRL season. And this is where it ends. And I said, by the numbers.
And if it's just all you need is one win to get in the preliminary final, hang on a second, Penrith and Broncos have only won one game.
Look, I don't want to bring up the idea of a conspiracy without any, backing behind it or any ideas. It's a conspiracy. Yes, how does a team that has won one win, or how is a teim that has won one game be deemed less worthy than another team who has only won one game?
One game.
It's not fair. No. And I'm going to say it like it is. It's robbery.
Robbery.
Daylight robbery.
Not rubbery.
No. Not like our floppy boy Kalen. Not rubbery like Kalen. I think we've been had, Naggy. It's all a sham.
If we're looking at the game specifically, Liam, I know you don't want to dive into the game.
But dive we shall, Naggy.
It's important to look at it and where it all went wrong, and that was basically immediately.
Yeah, I think it was 2 minutes in, Greg the Bus.
Greg the Bus.
Put the ball on the ground from his hands without controlling it.
He did.
And it all went wrong from there.
It all went wrong. And now we conceded three.
Very wrong.
3 tries. Very quickly we conceded. We were immediately on the back foot, looking at a 16-0 thing. And I remember saying, at the time, we haven't touched the ball.
It was about a 10-minute period where we nary touched the ball at all.
And then we got ourselves back in the game with the Greg Marju try, the Greg the Bus. And he when he scored and we got 16-4, we thought, this feels all right. And then we made it all the way to the end of the half. Now that
in and of itself was a huge achievement. After the 40 minutes the Knights had foisted upon them,
they did
pretty well.
They were applauding loudly in the kitchen there at the Hamilton Station Hotel, because they could just hear. And they said, there's something brewing out there.
And I'll tell you what was brewing in my guts. Yeah. Deliciousness from the poutine.
Oh, the poutine.
Again, get yourself poutine at the Hemo Station Joust.
Good Canadian boy loves his cheesy gravy chips.
Gravy, curds, chips, that's all you need.
Squeak. You need the squeak of the curds. Yeah. And then I thought, if we're the next to score, we're back in it.
And we were.
With the Dylan Lucas strike, possibly illegal, but we won't look at that, of the rules of the game. But we scored it. It's on the board, 10-16. Hello.
It was very much a vibes try.
It was a vibes try.
It was not a legal try in terms of the rules, but it was a legal try in terms of the narrative of the game.
Absolutely.
And I think what you see from all these NRL talking heads over the last few years, your Goulds, your Johnses, your other ones, they always say, let's not look at the try in slow motion. Don't do that. Just, if it looks like a try, if it looks like a try, it's a fucking duck. And, I think that was one of those tries that the old footy heads would have loved.
They would have.
Yeah.
And look, it only took 4 minutes for Dylan Walker to go back over, and that really cemented their dominance on the game. And my God, they were dominant. you had the likes of, I was about to say Stacey Jones, but it was his.
Well, Sean Johnson was putting on a Stacey Jones-esque performance. He was just directing the team around. He was putting them where he wanted them. They were everywhere he wanted them. Wherever he said, go here, they said, I'm going with you, Sean. I'm going to do it. And we knew that Sean Johnson's smile was going to be what undid us. And, oh, mate, he was showing off his chompers that day.
He was unfortunately smiling, the whole coming into the game with
almost as nice as Willie Mason.
All like piano keys. And then, of course, the smiling warrior there, of course. He was, of course, grinning with a rictus grin.
From literal ear to... From a what?
A rictus grin.
What's a rictus grin?
That's like... I don't know. It's rictus.
Did you make that one up?
No, that's a word. It's a word in the dictionary.
I don't think it is, actually.
Rictus. It's rictus, yeah.
Rigor mortis.
Is that what it's relating to? Well, I didn't know the origin of the...
Again, we're not medical professionals.
We're not medical
How
professionals.
are we supposed to know these things?
I'm a mere man. Yeah. I'm a mere man.
Just a fella with a brain.
Rictus grin. What does rictus grin mean?
Rhizus sardonicus. There we go. What is it?
Thank you. It's a highly characteristic, abnormal, sustained spasm of the facial muscles appearing to produce grinning.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, an old Joust favourite has returned. Word of the week is rictus, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I love about life, Naggy.
Yeah.
I love a lot of things about life. I detest a lot of things about life. But one of my favourite things in life is learning a new word.
Yeah.
I love learning new words. Because it gives me an opportunity to talk more nonsense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nonsense is hidden away in all the words.
Yeah.
Look, there was some certain players that really stood up in our hats off for this week.
Surprisingly so, given the scoreboard and all the things that we saw the Knights do wrong. There was a couple of people who did some things right.
It was a lot of effort out there from our very own Jacob Saifidi, carrying the load of his exact twin brother, Daniel, who was ruled out mere moments before the game. I think it was a full day before, but
felt like moments. We were that excited. The feeling was so it exacerbated the speed. It palpable everything.
And so he had some impressive statistics there. 15 hit-ups, 163 metres, or 17 runs, and 73 post-contact. He left it all down the field.
And hasn't he turned into a real leader at that Knight's side?
Absolutely.
You'd see the last couple of rounds, Kalen was the captain, obviously, but if you look to the huddle, if you look to the huddle at Joust, the man who was doing the talking, he was laying down the law, slapping the hand. Yeah. That was Jacob Saifidi. Still a young man in terms of props. 27, perhaps?
27, I think, ish, yeah.
Still a young man, but clearly taking on a leadership role at the club, and it's really good to see, because as we all know, at his peak, he's a State of Origin quality forward.
State of Origin hero.
Hero. His first game on debut, he was fantastic.
And he played in Game 3 this year, of course.
Oh, he did too.
He did, and in a winning game.
Equipped himself well.
Dylan Lucas, Liam, that's your hats off for this week.
Now, this is a lovely one for the future. I quite like that Dylan Lucas has got a bit of time on the field the last couple of weeks. Obviously, with Lockie Fitzgibbon moving on, there is a large hole to fill there on the left edge, and I think Dylan Lucas has filled that hole, quite with aplomb.
Yes.
You see. So I think next year...
With a plum?
With a plum.
Yeah.
Floating in perfume in a man's hat. The stats don't tell you everything about Dylan Lucas's story. He only got 85 run meters, but he got that try. He got a couple of tackle breaks. I think he made a line break as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think really positive signs for the future that at left edge, between Dylan Lucas, between Kai Pearce-Paul, we have options on that left edge.
He's a mere boy,
He's
Liam.
just
a boy.
Bubby boy.
And
tiny bubby. He's a big bubby boy.
And he did us very, very proud.
Yeah. Well done, Dylan Lucas.
Now, when we take our hats
off... Who are the
off...
5 best second rowers in the Newcastle Knights? Dylan, and Dylan, because he spits hot fire.
Yeah. I didn't know what the hell happened there. I thought you were having a moment.
No, it's one of the great Chappelle shows.
Oh, it's a Chappelle show. Dylan.
The rapper, Dylan.
Oh, of course.
Spits hot fire.
See, I missed it. I don't know. I watched the Charlie Murphy stories and I switched the television off. But when we take our hats off to a player, we must return our hat. And then
we've tried to avoid returning the hats the last few weeks because there's been so few hats to return, but this game it came back, unfortunately.
He was a player that I was cursed by the commentators' curse, but it was Joey basically wrote an article about him saying that Leo Thompson is the new chief. He said, look, he's got everything. He
said that, did he?
Well, he made the comparisons to Paul Harrigan, and I said,
I would have thought there's at least 3 front rowers who would be the new chief ahead of
Leo Thompson. Well, look, I know, but at the same time, he has just come out there and he's had a wonderful season compared to his debut year last year. He's really held on to that.
Well, he was still learning the game last year.
He didn't know the
He was a
rules.
rugby union man. Didn't know the rules. Didn't
yeah.
know what he was doing. It's a
No.
different shaped ball. The Gilbert and the Steeden are very, very different shaped balls. Yes, I've done a lot of research on this. The Gilbert's more of a rounded ball. It's much better for kicking with. Whereas the Steeden, you gotta wear shorts. That's why you wear shorts, because they're good for kicking.
Yeah.
Whereas the Steeden is a bit more of a pointier ball for whizzing through the air with big long cutout passes.
Yes.
That's a hard adjustment to make.
Huge.
It might not sound like much, Joust, but going from a Steeden to a Gilbert, one of the hardest things you can do in the world.
He saved one of his worst games for last, and he was coming up against a very formidable forward pack, but it just seems like he couldn't get himself in the game. He was a bit light on touches, and seemed to be not his dominant self in defence. Leo Thompson, I'm very sorry. We got the statistics up there.
32 run meters.
32 run meters. Yeah. All runs 4, and
we're not very good analysts of the game, but that's not many.
That's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Look, it was a game that we spent a lot of time without the ball in that first period. He probably didn't get the opportunities that he wanted, but coming up, looking up against Jacob Saifidi there, it's that's the reason he has the hats.
But he has had a breakout year, I think.
Huge.
Leo.
Oh, he's got the future in front of him, which a lot of us do.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you can move through the future.
And so I hope Leo takes this hat that has been put on his head and he wears it through the off-season to know the pain of getting a hats back on from the Jousters. Keep that hat on your head, Leo.
Yeah.
Just because we know that you can remove it at some point next season.
We lost all the statistics, so we can run through them.
Oh my God, all of them.
Possession, we barely had the ball.
Look at those numbers.
Yeah.
See, now the one mistake we made, because remember last week we had a similar thing, lost all the statistics. We were on the wrong side of everything.
Yes.
Except the scoreboard.
Oh, the scoreboard.
The guys took the wrong lesson out of that. They said, let's not get better at the statistics, but we'll also get not better at the scoreboard.
Yeah, 47 missed tackles. Only 9 errors, which I would have thought we had more errors, but
Felt
really
like more.
We just got outplayed, I think, by the New Zealand Warriors.
Which I think, a lot of the discourse has been about the Knights not being particularly good, but I think that takes away from the Warriors, who I thought were fantastic.
Charles Nickel-Klukstar.
What a match of football he played.
Look, he often has very good games against the Newcastle Knights, and this was no exception. Almost just on the touch of 300 running meters.
Dick off it.
32 runs. Got a try assist, line break assist. He was everywhere. And also, if you remember, Canberra Raiders dropped him last year. He played his last game for Canberra in reserve grade and was very emotional about that.
Well, understandably, he'd been so good for Canberra for I think 3 years he was there.
Yes.
He'd been fantastic in the 2019 run. He was, just unbelievably, fantastic at fullback there. And so to see him get back to his best footy, I kind of like Chance. It's a likeable team, this Warriors. Except for Dylan Walker, for obvious reasons. Don't like Adam Fanua-Blake either, for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Mitch Barnett.
Yeah, look, it's good.
Do we love him again?
I don't know.
He certainly had a revenge game against us, didn't he?
Where is he from? He's from
Wingham.
Wingham.
Yeah. Oh no, Warhope. No, he's from Wingham. Played for the Wingham Tigers.
When he had a
proper country boy.
He had a tooth knocked out by
Did he?
when he was playing the Newcastle Knights.
I want to get a tooth knocked out.
When he was playing, because you get the gold tooth like
I
Joe
want a gold
Pesci.
tooth. Yeah.
When he was playing with the
Maybe I should
Newcastle
go to
Knights,
Wingham.
he had a tooth knocked out, and they said, "How's Mitch going?" They asked Adam O'Brien, and Adam O'Brien said, "He's a boy from Wingham. He knows what it's like," and I think that's wonderful. Look,
that's a great saying.
I'm not going to default to be the up the wires bandwagon. However, Liam, it does take the edge off if we're beaten by the premiers. It
does.
So we can say, well, we did all we could, but there's no way we're going to beat them. They won the grand final.
And I think of the final four, I actually really interestingly quite like Brisbane this year.
Yeah.
But
I don't hate Brisbane at all.
Yeah, I think the Warriors have become a very likeable team. And so to be knocked out by any team in the top four, I don't mind that it was the Warriors.
If you think about the last four, and in terms of the NRL being, an international game, but also
allegedly
an Australian game, because the last four you've got a team from Sydney, where a lot of people are from, and then if you go up north, the last big town before you hit completely nothing and crocodiles and Irukandji jellyfish is Brisbane, and Brisbane are there also. But then, if you go all the way down to the bottom, as I like to call it, the bottom, of Australia, you've got the Melbourne Storm being represented as well. And then, if you go across the Dutch, you've got New Zealand Warriors. Everywhere is represented here.
What a widespread, top four, and I hadn't considered it like that, Naggy. Very good point. There's people from everywhere. It really is bringing the game together, having people from all over the shop.
It's like when you've got just a touch colder than room temperature butter and you've spread it evenly across the toast.
See, that's the beauty of not living in Australia. You can keep your butter outside.
Oh, it's best.
You keep it in the kitchen.
So you're not living in Australia. I thought you were saying living in Australia.
Well, no, you keep your butter at, and that's the other thing.
In a butter dish, would you say?
A butter dish.
Butter dish.
You see warnings on like cans of deodorant or whatever. It's a store at room temp. Do not exceed 30 degrees.
Yeah. Well, some of the rooms are way far beyond that.
They haven't adjusted the room temp scale to, factor in the Australian summer.
Yeah.
I'd love to know what room temp is.
Yeah.
Surely it'd vary from country to country.
Yeah, well, living as a student, Liam, in the houses that I did, and they had no insulation whatsoever.
That's it. We're using the word houses very...
there was a roof and some walls.
Roof, walls, maybe a door. Sometimes it was just a third wall that was missing. I don't know.
Sometimes it was just one of those, you see it like sort of strange massage parlors or things, where it's just a divider. A divider set up as a wall, which was in full swing.
At one point, you lived in a Telstra kiosk at Westfield Garden City.
Don't knock the kiosk. Right? That was a beautiful kiosk. All right? You can't knock the kiosk. But yeah, there were some very interesting places. But at the same time, it's when it's cold, it's freezing, and when it's hot, it's boiling. Yeah, it's a wonderful country we live in.
I love it. It's the greatest place on earth. It's what 8 o'clock at night now. It's 25 degrees. I'm a huge fan of this. Don't get me wrong.
Don't get
me wrong.
That I'm sweating, and I am sweating right now.
Look, I think safe to say I'm going to crack out the footy shorts tomorrow, and I shan't wear another thing.
No. Footy shorts, thongs.
I'll need to get some dress footy shorts for work.
They're slightly longer.
Steel-toed thongs. Something like that. I just love footy short weather. But we've got a fact here, Jousters. And again, another thing I love about life, I learn every day. Ambient temperature can vary widely across the world and can range widely even within a country. Depending on season or altitude, which is especially true for Australia because we cover so many time zones. We have so many different ecosystems.
We're huge.
You look from the deserts of the Arnhem Land, you head down to the forests of the Daintree.
Yeah.
You've got the beautiful rainforest of the Daintree again. I think it's the same one twice.
It's all the Daintree.
You've got the tropics.
Have you mentioned the Daintree?
I do. I love the Daintree. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. You've got Perisher. There's snow there in Australia. What a great country we live in.
How did you think of that? Liam, it's very important while we're talking about the ranges of temperatures, much like the ranges of temperatures you get within a delicious meat pie.
And one of the great things about Australia, again, our cuisine.
Yeah. Which is basically a pie. That's all we have. That's all we have. But you are the one of
Chico rolls.
Celebrating
I've
it.
never had a Chico roll.
They don't sell them anymore.
Yeah, they do. I popped into the servo across from work the other day. They still have a Chico roll.
Servo Chico?
Looked like it had been sitting in there for a week.
That's probably pretty fresh.
That's when they're at their best.
Who was your pie of the week, try of the week this week?
Now, my pie of the week, try of the week. It's a bit of an underwhelming pie try to round out the year, which, it's all relative because no pie is underwhelming.
No.
They're still good, but when they underwhelm, it just means they're less good, but still good.
Bit of a hole in that one, Liam. Forget that up on the screen.
It is a mystery hole, Naggy, and I won't tell you how it got there or why, so don't ask me.
Oh, hello.
But this was a similar pie try to the Adam Clune pass for Dylan Lucas,
Of course, yes.
Because Adam Clune hit an illegal hole and threw a forward pass.
Yeah, illegal
for
hole.
Dylan Lucas to score, and I put an illegal hole in my pie because I made the mistake. You see, Joust, as my beautiful wife Brittany purchased it the day before from Banjo's Bakery at Glendale.
Stockton, Glendale.
Purchased it the day before, and I left it in the fridge.
That place is huge. Can I just say, not just Banjo's, but I went there looking for, I think, Dan Murphy's, and I thought, well, I'll just Google map the place itself and find Dan Murphy's. It's like its own suburb.
It's got everything you could ever want.
It's
all
huge.
the conveniences, except it's an enormous heat sink. They've built a huge undercover parking area now, but before that, it was just an enormous, if you put solar panels in there, you could power the whole world.
I believe
cinema. There's 2 warehouse liquor chains.
Yeah,
it's got everything. Coles and Woolies.
I believe it's melted today. Though. I believe it's completely melted, collapsed into the ground.
It's like the suburb of Cameron Park. I don't like going there. Well, I never do. There's no reason to go to Cameron Park. But it's the same. It's a heat sink. There's no trees.
No.
There's no foliage.
Foliage?
It just attracts sun.
No.
It's the same 3 house designs, just copied and pasted. There's not a backyard between them.
No, of course. Legoland, they call them.
They do. No, that's I think that's an unfair comparison to Legoland.
That's because Legoland's full of diversity.
And it's awesome, yeah. I've never been, but I've been to the Lego shops. And they're great. Yeah. And all they are is a very small, brick and mortar retail business.
Is it the Swedes for Lego or the Swiss?
Is it the Danish?
I don't know.
Definitely Nordic.
It's up there.
I think it's the Danes. Definitely Nordic.
Keep heading north until
whoever Mr. James Lego was, whatever he's getting paid, in royalties from the Lego company, it's not enough. Give him more.
Jimmy Legs, they called him.
Jimmy Legs.
Jimmy. That's how you get the Jimmy Leg, because he got the from James Lego.
Yeah, James Lego. So anyway, that was my pie of the week, try of the week.
Wonderful.
Actually, quite enjoyed it. Much like the try, enjoyed it. But although I knew I shouldn't have.
Hey,
I knew I shouldn't have.
because it's a bit illegal. With
Yeah,
the illegal hole, of
The
course.
illegal hole.
We're going to take a halftime break, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be back to talk everything else, especially the ladies
And the illegal holes.
and the illegal holes. Not sure if those two things to be clasped together, but
shouldn't have put those words right next to each other.
We'll be right back.
Apologies.
Welcome back to the second half of the Joust. And as a reminder that this is our second last episode for the season, Justice. We'll be back with our encyclopedic review on the season, which I'm very much looking forward to. So make sure you tune in for one more week.
And now we've gone outside, Jousters. We've composed ourselves, and our sails are full of gust again. We are gusted.
It's what this podcast brings. That's a bit of gust coming out.
Too much gust. Oh, my God. That's so much gust I can barely deal with it.
It's coming at all ends. There's only two. They're both ends. But Liam, it's time to look at everything that's rugby league broadly in some of the news. First up in the news this week is, of course, the great news of the ladies, of the other half of the club.
Arguably the better half, I would say.
I'd say much better.
On results and maybe just general vibes.
General vibes.
General vibes seem very good around the NRLW team currently.
Securing their first minor premiership, the first of any Knights team.
Now, this is very interesting, Naggy, because given the Knights' dominance through the late 90s, early 2000s, I assumed that there had been a minor premiership in there, but Bretto from Bay 53 pointed out that we came second in the years of 1998 and 2002 on points differential.
Yes.
Again, we finished with the same number of wins as the team who was better,
Yes.
but were faulted for it.
Yes, of course.
They said, you have the same wins, but you're worse.
Yes.
Like, what kind of terrible judgmental person was that?
I don't know.
Anyway, back to the women, though.
But it happened twice. And that was 1998 and 2002, you said. The
yeah.
years after we won the premiership. Yeah.
Which is interesting because this is the year after the NRLW Knights won the premiership.
Dun, dun, dun. Well, hopefully that's not spelling disaster for us. But of course, with the win over the Tigers, a comprehensive win over the Tigers, they find themselves at the top of the ladder, steamrolling. That's actually slow. Steaming like a train. Not like
Trains are much faster than steamrollers.
That's all I've heard.
Like, that great scene in Austin Powers with the steamroller.
Stop! There's so there won't be steamrolling. They'll be steaming into the finals from the top of the ladder. Of course, it's just reminding the top four is the finals for the NRLW,
and I think 3 of the 4 we expected. You know, the Roosters obviously been a bit of a powerhouse I think last season they did okay. The Broncos obviously were the powerhouse at the beginning.
Yes.
The beginning times of the competition, and you know you almost see a bit of a parallel now between the Broncos and the Knights as it went in the late 90s.
Yes.
Where they were the 2 powerhouses.
Yeah, and of course the Titans, like the film. Remember the Titans. That's what you have to do when you look at the finals. Go, remember the Titans?
See, now that should be the official film of the Gold Coast Titans because they are often forgotten about.
Yes.
Yeah, a young Ryan Gosling. Remember the Titans?
Of course, yeah, that was a star-studded
first film role.
Star-studded cast. Racism. That's basically what the film's about. We're doing one-word film reviews. And that was Remember the Titans, of course. So they come up against the top 4, and it's going to be very interesting because we'll touch a little bit more on that a little bit later in the show. But Ashley Klein, Liam, has made a bit of a blunder.
Well, he's made several blunders throughout his career.
Yes.
More than most, I think it's safe to say. And somehow has never really had to face any repercussions.
Yeah.
But it seems that he has been declined a role as the man in the middle for the NRL preliminary finals.
He has.
Naggy, is it about time that the nepotism that exists within the upper echelons of NRL refereeing is torn asunder?
Yes.
Is it time to blow up the whole system, get rid of the brothers who run it?
The existing ones?
Sutton
brothers?
Yeah, is it time that the Suttons and the Kleins moved on? The Suttons and the Kleins of the world? Have we moved beyond that?
Yeah.
Is there a new, young, exciting generation of referees coming through? It doesn't seem to be because they
Potentially.
keep making mistakes as well.
Yeah.
Is it, should we remove referees from the game entirely?
Don't we just play on the honesty system?
On the honesty system.
Yeah. We know when there's been. Call your own fouls, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like street basketball.
Street ball, yes, that great game.
Yeah, call your own fouls, they say. But that sort of implies that don't call them, because if you call them, it means you're a sissy. You're
It'd be a
sissy boy.
bloodbath. You don't want to be a sissy boy.
Yeah, so exactly. So it could be the greatest thing to ever happen to rugby league. It could turn into basically like a no holds barred game out there where no one wants to say anything like I was bitten, I was stomped, my neck was broken, etc., etc.
What does no holds barred mean?
I don't know.
What are the holds and what are they being barred from? I assume it's obviously martial arts. A lot of
the
it's
mixed
holdings
martial
from
arts,
there,
when it was no holds barred, you see, it typically meant there was just a lot of punches to the groin. So that seems to be the
golden era of martial arts.
It was truly the golden era of the groin punch, a much forgotten about move within martial arts. Now, of course,
and it's for the detriment of martial arts that we've forgotten the groin punch.
Well, now there's at least 9 rules, and if you look at it compared to golf, there's 42 pages of rules. So that might say a little bit about the difference between a game that is considered civilized, like golf, and mixed martial arts. We actually have some images of the groin punch in action here. Now, a little bit of a backstory about the groin punch that's happening right in front of your eyes there. The man on the bottom there is actually from Austin Powers, again, Austin Powers reference, who played Random Task.
Oh, the man who threw his hat.
Threw his shoe.
Who throws a shoe?
Yes, but you think,
that's Random Task.
That's Random Task.
In the red budgie smugglers?
Exactly. And you think, well, you wouldn't want that to happen. What a poor fella. However, he was convicted of multiple serious crimes. Let's just leave it
How many of them were shoe-related?
None.
Oh, then I worry.
Yes.
I remember when the MMA first started gaining prominence sometime in the late 90s. I saw it on television, and I went straight to my dad.
Of course.
And I said, Dad, you should watch this sport. There's no rules.
Yes.
He said, what do you mean? I was like, they just punch everything.
They
kick, they bite, they do everything.
Groins.
Yeah, groin stuff, lots of groin punches. Again, the halcyon days of MMA.
Of Random Task.
Yeah.
No, terrible man.
He's not even put his prison uniform on right. He's put it on backwards.
Orange County Jail. He is still there. This was a long time ago. He did some terrible things.
Well, if he's still there, he must have.
Yeah, we won't go all the way into it, but we can say he definitely deserved to be punched in the groin several times. Random Task. Great name. I didn't realize it was an odd job. Random Task.
Oh, it is too.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. It's good. It's a movie that keeps on giving.
Ashley Klein didn't do any groin punches or serious crimes, but he did let a knock-on go that led to a... Is there too many criticisms against NRL referees?
Yes.
Because we have sitting on our chair at home, our comfortable chair, and we get the beauty of seeing the sport in slow motion from many different angles, and that's a beauty of the game, of the television game. But the referees out there, he's only got 2 eyes. They can only look at one direction.
2 eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth. 1 penis.
What? We hope.
Not anymore. Women are now in the refereeing ranks, of course, with Casey Badger and Belinda.
No penises.
Also refereeing.
Yeah.
So that's changed the criteria slightly.
Yeah.
But look, it comes back to what we were saying about, a lot of the older footy talking heads just wanting tries to be given on vibes. They say the game's not played in slow motion.
Yeah.
But with the modern day... television produced game, it is in slow motion.
Well,
we see every single frame, and these people want to say, just let the try happen, as though the fans of the team who scored against won't watch it in slow motion and say, we were wronged. We had a terrible wrong carried out.
But what about the broadcasters? If they just said, we're not going to show you it again, they kept all the mistakes secret. So then you're just as clear as the referee at the time.
But see, with video recording technology now, you can just have someone record it, stream it on Twitch, I think they call it there, and then record and then show it in slow motion.
You make great points, Liam. You make excellent points.
Thank you.
But it's but I also think it's far too many criticisms led towards saying that they've been making mistakes throughout the entire since they were installed as adjudicators of the game, and it's going to continue. We have to accept that might happen sometimes.
And look, being a rugby league referee is one of the most thankless jobs you can do.
Yeah.
But they are key to the game.
They are.
We talked about just refereeing on the honesty system.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work. We need people in the middle with a whistle. But get it right. The one here we see with the Harry Grant.
Terrible.
Ashley Klein was sitting from me to you away. Standing, in fact. If he was sitting, I'd be concerned about his refereeing. But he was standing from me to you away.
You could smell Harry Grant's breath. It was awful. Brush your teeth, Harry.
Maybe that's why he avoided it. I don't want to go near Harry again. I'll just stay away from him.
Oh, what have you been eating? I'm sure terrible things. But speaking of Liam, the
terrible things
that can happen to a man out in the rugby league field, our very own Jackson Hastings.
The monk and leave. The poor monk and leave. Yeah.
He suffered yet another fracture to that same ankle. Now this
can't catch a break, Kenny, the poor boy.
He caught a break there. Now,
good point. Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate, but at the same time, because we've said, he's a man that's filled with metal, he's got a metal leg, we can rebuild him using the $6 million man sort of framework, if you will.
Do you think Steve Austin, the wrestler took his name from Steve Austin, the $6 million man? Or was it just coincidence?
I don't know. I don't know.
Food for thought, Joust.
But they've decided to put in more metal into his leg, literally a longer rod. And, we've used this
All
photo,
hail the inanimate carbon rod.
which is now completely up the entire river of the leg that is Jackson Hastings. We wish him a very speedy recovery.
I'll tell you what, if they put one more piece of metal up the river of the leg there, he will have a hydroelectric system going on.
Hopefully he
there.
can just...
He'll put the Snowy River hydroelectric to shame.
To kick
this nation's finest infrastructure project.
Conversions, he just needs to press a button. It's all automated. It's all AI these days.
Well, at what point? It's another funny one that I often see brought up is, wouldn't you love to see an Olympics, but where the people were allowed to enhance your body in any way possible?
Oh, yeah.
If you were allowed to, say, as a sprinter, give yourselves explosive metal knees and do all the human growth hormones in the world, that's what I want to see.
I want to watch
I
that.
don't want people who have trained naturally and eaten well and done weights and cardio. I just want to see people who've done the cheat codes in life and said, I'm going to become the ultimate human being by hook, by crook, by legal or illegal machinations, and then just throwing one random guy from the pub.
No, of course, to give it scale.
Scale. It's all about scale, you see, Joust.
Oh, it's almost like a no-holds-barred Olympics.
Yes. An Olympics with no rules.
And they could fight and groin punch the other athletes. It'd be wonderful television. Say what you will about the ethics. It would be wonderful television. Now, speaking about ethics, Liam, Willie Mason, a man that has none. Zero ethics. He says, there could not be a bigger hole that Tyson Gamble wants to crawl in right now. Pick your battles, boy. You are below average. Of course, he came out and said that he's below average, and then he picked a fight. Tyson Gamble says, basically, get fucked. He used
a direct quote.
He
didn't basically say it. He said exactly that.
Which I think is the only response. If someone, if you were playing as a professional athlete and someone said you're shit, you'd say get fucked. Especially if it is a former athlete, and I use the word former with a lot of inst. He's a very, very former.
A lot of what, sorry?
Former athlete, a man that peaked in 2004, and his career basically took a very, very direct dive after that. Did nothing else besides knock the ball on in 2004 in the State of Origin coming off the bench. And then, won the Clive Churchill, hooray, 20 years ago. And then he's just slid down that mountain of notoriety to the point of which now he's just a man on a podcast shouting at professional athletes, much the same as what we're doing now.
Now, I reached out to Willie for comment through the week. I sent him a tweet in response to this article, and I asked him, I put the question to him, Willie, who's, of course, we all know he's on the coaching staff of the Canterbury Bulldogs. And I put the question to him, which I think is a fair question. I said, Willie, I don't think the Canterbury Bulldogs halves led their team to the finals, but I could be wrong. I don't remember.
Yes.
It had been a long final series. It had been all of a week and a half.
And he didn't reply.
He took the coward's option.
No, I think in Willie's defense, maybe he couldn't remember either. It could be very possibly that he has no idea where the Bulldogs finished because he's not really that invested in the game. He just makes comments behind a microphone, much similar to what we're doing. Welcome aboard, Willie. We're all on the same peg now.
Speaking of the same pegs.
Yeah. The Brian Fletcher, but not the player.
I didn't see the story before I used the segue, so it didn't really lead to anything. Sorry,
Brian Fletcher, not to be confused with the former Rooster Rabbitoh Brian Fletcher, but the man who's the Panthers chief executive. Interesting looking fella. A lot of eyebrow. It's just got like a mane of eyebrow.
Sandy Cohen eyebrows, but a touch more grey.
A touch more grey. Maybe he's got a bit of...
Isn't he a great television dad, Sandy Cohen?
Oh, he's the best.
He's the best thing for his family at every step of the way.
Sure, he was only 4 years older than the children that he was meant to be fathering.
It's California.
It's California. California, here we come. But Brian Fletcher's come out and said it's a big advantage for the Broncos. This isn't a Broncos home game.
No, it isn't.
To be playing it in the biggest stadium available in Brisbane.
Now, boy, isn't that a terrible thing to do in a commercial sport? Play a game in the biggest stadium possible where you're going to maximise ticket sales. What a terrible idea, says Brian Fletcher.
52,000 possible people.
Do you think it's a case of jealousy, knowing that Penrith Panthers Stadium can only fit 7 people? I think it's a bit of jealousy.
Yeah, 7 people. If of course, you got the people sitting on the field.
Capacity.
The surge capacity. When they break all the rules, there's 6 people on the hill and then one chair.
But I'd love to know And the chair, they had to steal it from Rudy Hill
It's
RSL.
just sitting there.
They took it out of the all-you-can-eat buffet.
It's clearly an office chair.
They've got the one chair from the buffet.
Yeah.
They nicked a stool out of the pokey room, and that's the corporate box.
That's Penrith for you.
My dad's rugby union club. We went down to watch a game many years ago. I'm back maybe a decade there. And it was a small suburban ground, so it's not a grandstand or anything to be seen. It's simply, a round cricket pitch-shaped field with a canteen.
Yeah.
But they had the field roped off. And they roped off a section with an old second-hand couch that they'd purchased at an op shop.
Wonderful.
With an esky at each end.
Perfect.
Full of beer, and that was the corporate suite.
Oh!
That was where the sponsor of the week would sit and
Fancy
get free
boys.
booze all day.
Hey,
Yeah.
but that's wonderful to me.
That's brilliant. I thought it was the greatest idea ever.
Considering I've sat on many, many terrible couches watching wonderful football games
Yeah.
and watch it live.
Right there.
Right there.
Right there. But anyway, back to Brian Fletcher. He
It's-
seems to like saying incendiary things that don't really make much sense when you consider they've been the most dominant team of the last 3 years.
I think he's also underestimated because he's playing this off. This is a Brisbane home final.
final.
Now, the amount of New Zealanders on the southeast Queensland.
Specifically in the scaffolding industry.
Apparently, yes. They really, truly, they a lot of them there. This is going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of up the wires fans there.
And not only that, it's a short flight from Auckland to Brisbane, surely.
Long swim, short flight. Those depends how you get there.
Yeah.
But there will be plenty of New Zealand Warriors fans there to hopefully, two teams that personally, I don't really want to see the Storm win another premiership.
I think I'd be disgusted.
In my short life, I've already seen Penrith win quite a few premierships. Brisbane Warriors, I want one of them.
Well, that's
to
it.
Win.
The wrong side of the draw has something.
Yeah, come together.
Just Mitch McConnell did again. Sorry, Jousters. But yeah, wouldn't it be better if you could see Brisbane play Penrith or Brisbane play the Storm, and the Warriors play Penrith or the Warriors play the Storm, and then we could have a Broncos-Warriors grand final, which I would prefer greatly.
Well, this one, it allows at least one of them to get into the grand final.
Yeah.
That other analogy means that possibly neither of them get into the grand final.
But the ultimate unfairness in all... Yeah, good point, actually. Yeah.
So we've allowed one of a new team to get into the grand final, and hopefully, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit on the Warriors bandwagon
But the ultimate insult to the Warriors, again, the Warriors kept the NRL alive through the COVID years by saying, we're going to stay in Australia, we're going to keep it going.
They did.
An 8 p.m. kickoff in Brisbane or in Sydney would be a 10 p.m. kickoff in Auckland, which would lead the game finishing at midnight.
10 p.m. the following day.
What a slap in the face of the fans of the team who kept the game going through COVID. At the end of it, the entire rugby league world said, we should all thank the Warriors. Let's do some good things for the Warriors.
They've
Let's
done
help the Warriors. And Peter
zero.
V'landys said, good job, guys. Fuck off.
Yeah, basically, yeah. If they finish 10th...
You're a Murdoch shill, V'landys. You're nothing more than a plant from the gambling industry into the great game that we love, and you are spitting in the face of a club that have done so much.
Sacrifice.
You wouldn't take them to Vegas.
No.
So there's probably heaps of Kiwis there.
That's another international
They're
team.
always building stuff in Vegas. They use a lot of scaffolding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. An international game to an international destination, and
Perfect.
he doesn't include the one international team.
The team that's used to going international. Yeah.
Oh, you've got my ire up, Pete.
Peter, if that is your real name. Ben Hunt for the Dragon Slam is not sort of... every story... Okay, each week comes out. He's saying, I'm staying. And then the next week comes out and says, I'm staying, but I'm not happy about it. I'm sort of looking to leave.
And we finally got it in print. He's finally said that he regrets it.
Will not be there. Hunt reveals contract regret. Yeah, this is even that's misleading.
That's
I don't know
a
whether he's going to be.
confusing headline.
I don't know whether he's going to play or not. But apparently he regrets signing. But he's stuck with it. He's contractually obliged.
Because, of course, he was a hook boy. He was one of Anthony Griffin's boys. And he signed. He re-signed.
You reiterated what you meant there. I was like, he's a hook boy?
That's it. He wasn't one of the boys who were sent to Never Neverland, the Forever Boys. The Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys.
Yeah, he's not one
Again,
of those
I
Lost
thought it was
Boys.
something abusive that you were saying.
I don't know. The word boys just holds such connotations. It's hard to bring up.
It is. But obviously he's there sort of like against his will, but he's going to fulfill his contract.
Now, he did actually say in the interview he's not being held hostage. But if you were being held hostage and you were interviewed in the media, that's the first thing you'd say.
Yes.
Because what is your hostage taker going to do to you if you say, oh, excuse me, I'm being taken hostage here? They're going to break your knees with a sledgehammer.
Bang is all you'd hear, and that's one of your kneecaps gone.
So, Ben, look, if Shane Flanagan is in the room with you now... blink twice. He's not holding you hostage, but just get blinking, buddy.
Just continue saying how happy you are, and then the first away game, just don't get back on the plane.
And it's so sad. He's been the only player there for the last 4 or 5 years that's really been trying or, doing anything exciting or really just trying.
Speaking about exciting and trying, Liam, there's a man that's found himself out of work, and Paul Kent, you wouldn't have seen him on the television in the last, 9 months, however long it's been, because he's done some terrible things.
Oh, yeah, he's still stuck in the box of personal regrets.
And classically, if you're one of the most predominant journalists in Sydney and New South Wales, and your stories are read everywhere, of course, if you got to find a second job, you go straight to the funeral home.
Well, I think it's, apropos that he ends up in the funeral industry driving the hearse, because, of course, in the back of the hearse is his media career.
It's exactly right. Yeah. He's taking him to the graveyard. And I tell you what, we've had a year without Paul Kent, and nothing much has changed, really.
That's it. I still don't watch NRL 360, and that's about it.
He just still probably, walks around looking like he's just noticed a fart in the room with a grimace on his face and saying, "Oh, well, this has got to happen, and that's got to," and I can tell you how to run a club, but he can't even run his own life.
No. One game Parramatta legend Paul Kent.
The box of personal demons is where he's at. He may never emerge again, but he's driving around a hearse. What is it? Isn't it just great? Isn't life a little life greatness every once in a while?
It's nice to have a good news story in the media for once, It really is.
A man that gave no one any chances is now hoping for a second chance.
And what was his quote when he got first put away for it? He says, I've been talking about the rugby league circus for so many years, and now I'm in it.
He didn't even say. He just said it's all part of the rugby league circus. This was designed. It's like, no, I'm sorry, you choked someone.
You made the rugby league circus.
You designed it, and now that you've been cast away from rugby league because not even you, not the man that does want to do the casting away.
It's always funny how those people, the consequences of their own actions pop up, and they seem amazed. They seem really amazed by it. Yeah.
Liam, we can't talk any further without discussing the most successful rugby league team in the entire world.
Easily. With daylight to second. We've won one premiership this calendar year. We might win a second premiership this calendar year.
Yeah, just collecting trophies.
You could not make that up. You couldn't write that story if you were the writers of Remember the Titans.
Racism. There's NRLW, of course, basking in the glory there of their the first Newcastle Knights minor premiership, coming off a major premiership, and as we touched on before, it's going to be like basically a straight into a preliminary final, but the win over the Tigers was something immense. 7 in a row.
7 in a row. For the second time we've said that this year.
I know. We said it once before. It doesn't usually happen.
No.
But, of course, that loss to the Cowboys seems like an age ago.
It was an age ago. It was 7 ages ago.
That's true. Yeah. And in terms of the season, very, very long ago. Liam, who's your hats off for this week?
Abigail Roach. She's had such a wonderful season, Abigail Roach. We've got her stats here in front of us. Quite a game. 2 tries, 200 running metres.
Huge.
Which for a back rower, that's very, very impressive. 4 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. She's just having a wonderful season. And I think it's telling as well that our camera fellow over there, Pom, said that she's the favourite Knight of his. Oh. The nicest person in the whole club, he says.
Hello.
Yeah. And so it's good to see her hats off going, not to just a fantastic player who had a great game, but just a good human being, a great human being. And I think we've seen the Knights forwards have done some really good stuff without bringing up huge numbers as well, because we're going to look at the stats of this game in a moment. And again, fell on the back feet in all of the statistical categories, but still did the right stuff at the right time.
Yeah.
I think Abigail Roach really nailed that.
Speaking of the right stuff at the right time, Liam, we have Tamika up near possibly the greatest fullback in the entire world.
Easily the greatest fullback we've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't think it could ever be repeated. She is something phenomenal, and she gets our hats off again for this week. Great statistics again. 21 runs, 245 metres. The kick return metres is up there as well. 2 line break assists, 2 try assists. She can't be stopped. Someone try to stop her. You can't.
And especially, I think she'll have a point to prove coming up against her old team in the Broncos.
Of course.
Am I correct with that, Sam? Yes, I was correct with that. Yes, coming up against her old team in the Broncos.
Because we know that the Newcastle Knights play their best football with the Queensland fullback.
They do.
We don't know why.
There's no way to know. There's no science behind it.
We shan't be asking any questions. We found the formula and we're using it.
That's what happens when you find a formula. But we are a bit concerned for Jessie Southwell.
Yes, coming off. Hopefully,
came off at half time.
Just a
Just a cork, a bit of a stinger, perhaps. She's got some ice there on the front of the thigh.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the estuary of the river of the leg.
Yeah, of course, that's where it all begins.
And so we're a bit concerned because we've taken a concerned tone.
And we've gone into some sort of, I don't know, tone that we've never been.
Well,
before.
it happened mere weeks ago with Jackson Hastings, and we weren't concerned enough. So now I feel like I'm overly concerned.
We'll just
because it's the inverse.
Talk about the tone.
Yeah.
How to say? Well, Jesse Southwell.
It's a bit worrying.
There's two Southwells. I get confused sometimes.
Yeah. It's a Safidi conundrum all over again.
It is. And of course, we're coming up against the Brisbane Broncos this week. That's correct?
No, Mrs. Elliott, no problem, said the Knights in 2023.
And hopefully we can do it again. Winning this game goes straight into a grand final. So fingers crossed there, hopefully. And that is also at McDonald Jones Stadium.
Yes, a home game to round out the first week of the final.
The Fortress there at Marathon Stadium.
What a great stadium.
It's
good to see they didn't take our paint job down. They've kept it rebranded as Marathon till the last night's team gets knocked out.
And we spelled it correctly. Hopefully we can get a huge crowd there. But if you don't want to go to the stadium, you can watch it elsewhere.
Now, from experience, I can tell you a great place to watch it.
Where's that?
The Hamilton Station Hotel.
The Hamilton Station
Wonderfully
Hotel.
priced beers, an excellent selection, some really good crafties if you're into that, all the classics if you're into that. They'll have the food truck open there by the canteen. One of the best beer gardens around.
Delicious.
Given the weather at this time of the year, television screens all around the beer garden.
You
We had our friends out there in the beer garden reminding us of the Pong Dog, of course.
Yes.
The Hamilton Station crew there, the Pong Dog crew, as we like to call them. Pong Dog's people.
Pong Dog's
I guess we're
people.
going to call it out there in the beer garden. So yeah, get yourself down to the station if you can't make it to Marathon. Just sit and have a beer.
It's going to be
watch some footy.
Sunday the
because you're not going to be able to do it for much longer.
Sunday the 24th.
What the hell are we going to do with ourselves for the next 6
I don't
months?
know, Liam. It's best not to talk about it. It's Sunday the 24th of September, of course. The Knights play the Broncos, Hamilton Station Hotel. And you can always stick around for happy hour, which kicks off at 4 p.m. through 7 p.m. That's one big hour where there's $5 tap beers. All the tap beers, $5. You can't beat that in this economy.
Not in this economy, in this cost of living crisis. You can't even come close to it.
And hopefully we give the Broncos a good old hit in the jaw. What do the horses have?
I think they have a jaw.
Snout? Do they have a snout?
Snout?
I don't know. A big nose. That's all. A big lower face. But if we're looking at the NRL, there's two games coming up. Of course, we've got the Panthers taking on the Storm. Two very successful teams.
But what a one-sided affair this is looking like being. I think it's safe to say that the Melbourne Storm have been fairly ravaged with injuries. Jerome Hughes' name, despite being under a question mark. They've got some honestly reserve grade players in the forward pack, and Penrith are just. They're Penrith. They've got basically a full-strength side. They've named Luai.
Yes.
They've got Jack Cogger on the bench, though. Our very own unremarkable boy and future Knight.
Future Knight once again.
Future Knight once again. But yeah, this is going to be pretty one-sided, I reckon.
I think so too. I think we're going to see a big game, especially from someone like Liam Martin taking on those less than desirable Melbourne forwards. I think we're going to see. But also we got the Brisbane Broncos coming up against the Warriors.
Now this is a much more mouth-watering matchup for me.
My mouth was.
So I love the football the Broncos have been playing this year. And I really like the Warriors this year. And we've
got two players that you might have said 5 years ago. I can't believe they're still playing. Adam Reynolds and Sean Johnson steering their teams around the.
Not only that, playing some career best football as well.
Great.
What a clash of halfbacks we're about to see.
And a clash of fullbacks. Reece Walsh coming up against Charles Nickel Klugstar. It's becoming better. I'm saying it worse and worse. But
and then you got a couple of other ones. You've got Adam Fanua-Blake up against Payne Haas, two of the best props in the competition. You got Tohu Harris and Pat Carrigan at lock.
Montoya versus Cobbo.
I don't think I've brought this up on the show this year, and if I have, I don't care. I'm bringing it up again. Selwyn Cobbo.
Yes.
Sounds like the kind of name someone would have who got kicked out of the Kelly gang because he got kicked in the head by a horse and suffered some minor.
That's the only way he survived.
It's like the Kelly gang that was like, old Selwyn Cobbo there. He copped a hoof in the jaw and now he can't shoot straight. Anyway, I like that matchup. That's going to be a great game of rugby league. I'm very excited.
You can catch all those games at the Hamilton Station Hotel. Thank you very much for joining us for this week. Joust, we'll catch you next week. If you like us, please like us on Instagram, Apple Tunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Facebook, all those social pipes. We'll be back next week for our end-of-year encyclopedic. We've said that word so loudly and so
it's
repetitive.
Definitely contextually wrong. Maybe we'll put up a special sack as well for you, Jousters.
Potentially. Yeah. We look forward to it. We'll catch you again next week.